Ah, damn cable. Broadcasting live from 81-degree, extremely humid downtown Cleveland. It's station WDWL TV, home of not one, but 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, an Oscar, and wrong glasses. Oh, I'm all discombobulated right now. And we're brought to you by Grumpy Vulture Productions. 5 minutes before airtime, my landlord's niece calls me. Of all times to call, out of the blue, to see how I'm doing. I'm doing all right. I'm vertical, above ground. Of all times to call. Hey, Vlad's here. How you doing there, buddy? Oop, let me get this taken care of here. There we go. Man, I'll tell you what. I have been trying to follow and get as much information out of Florida that poor K-9 is going to lose his left leg. Now, he's not out of surgery. We don't know the prognosis. He was doing all right in surgery from the last report. It's sad that idiot shot that dog. I don't know if he was aiming for the dog. Nobody knows. But like Grady Judd said, after he shot at the deputies, you could have read the New York Times through the guy by how much lead poisoning they gave him. And I like the way Grady Judd says, yeah, we gave him lead poisoning. Hopefully, he recovers. It's just sad that he'll never work again, but he'll have a good, loving home. And I have seen dogs minus a limb. They get up and like they were always with 3 limbs. There was a video oh, it's got to be a year or two ago, where a dog got hit by a car and he lost like his right front and his left rear. The dog had two legs. And that dog got up and trotted around. And the amazing thing was, as the dog would be going around on two legs, his tail would spin. And the veterinarian said it's basically like a gyroscope. It's keeping him balanced. He had one front leg and one rear leg and would run around in the backyard like he had all four with his tail spinning. So if good old Ace comes out of surgery and makes a recovery, he really won't miss that front leg. He will adapt instantly. It's just sad that it happened. But it's amazing that even though it was an arterial shot and the dog was basically bleeding to death, she was able to get him to that emergency clinic. They were able to stabilize him. And then the hospital, I can't remember, Tampa General, flew in their helicopter to transport him down in Manatee County to, it almost sounds like a Cleveland Clinic, Sloan Kettering, Mayo Clinic veterinary hospital. But it's sad that he's, losing the leg. And his partner has not left his side. I guess she's in the operating room with him, although surgery should be done by now. Hopefully there's I have all the Florida news channels locked in. So if there's any updates, I'll be getting them. It's just, it's going to be rough on the dog because when she leaves for work, he's going to be like, why am I in the house? I'm supposed to be going with you. That is going to be the hardest adjustment for the dog. Not going to work every day. Although I would tend to think she'll probably bring him along, because Sheriff Judd said they're getting a replacement ASAP. Which, it's going to be hard on her because she's used to him. She's got to get used to a new dog. But at least when they come home, the dog will have a buddy. But I'm pretty sure Ace is going to want to go to work every day, because Ace knows when she puts on that uniform, it's time to leave. Look at the size of that cup. I have a bad habit. I go through Mark's closeouts, and I spotted these giant coffee mugs. 99 cents. It holds 2 cups. I don't have to get up and make coffee so often. So, keep Ace in your thoughts. I've been thinking about him all day. I think more about police dogs because I have a friend whose son is a K-9 officer. And I know how attached they get to their animals because they become family. His dog goes with him everywhere. He goes to the store, dog goes with him. And the dog every night is laying right next to him on the floor. Every night. So hopefully K-9 Ace comes through the surgery, makes a recovery, and gets back on his feet. That was... I'm trying to think when I got the news alert. Because I have a thing, breaking news out of the Florida stations. I can't remember what time I got the alert. Whatever, I got the alert. So if anything comes through, I will know. And I will pass it along. Oh. You can tell that I was distracted. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. I got the headphones caught in the overhead light extension. Jesus God. I'm all discombobulated today. I watched an interesting, what time was it? About 3:30 this morning. I had a hell of a time going to sleep last night. I watched a case out of Florida, of course, with a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old, both males, who the 16-year-old was dating this 14-year-old girl. Not so much dating. It was like a friends with benefits thing. As a matter of fact, from interviews with her friends, every time they got together. And that was basically the only reason he stuck with this girl, because it was like she'd come over and he would kind of convince her to put out. And it was one of these, like, okay, we're done, go home. And she put up with this for quite a while. Well, finally, she said, that's it, we're done. We're done, no more. I'm tired of this. You know, we don't go to McDonald's. We don't go to Dairy Queen. I'm done. Well, he didn't take it so well. Now, he had a buddy who was pretty good friends with her because she stopped talking to him. She blocked him on social media, blocked his phone number, everything else. So he conned his friend into getting her to go back in the woods with him. Evidently, she didn't question it too much. He was like, come on, I got to show you something. They go deep into the woods. Well, when they got to a certain point in the woods, it was the ex-boyfriend. And she was like, oh, you brought me back here for this? I'm leaving. Well, he had a stolen handgun. And he told her, you're not going nowhere. At which point she wasn't going anywhere. So, in front of his friend, he tells her to get down on her knees. And I got to watch what I say on YouTube. Perform a service. With a gun pointed to her head, she was like, oh, okay. When she got done performing the service, he shot her twice in the head. He tells his friend, go home and get a gas can. So his friend runs home, gets a gas can, poured gasoline all over, and set the body on fire. Needless to say, her mother reported her missing. They're doing a search. Well, a guy walking his dog happened to come across where this fire had been and called the sheriff. Now, there was a little confusion because at the same time, there was a homeless guy who had gone missing. All of his friends that they interviewed went, this is not him. He might go 1 or 2 days, but this has been like a week. So they surmised it was him. Well, the coroner was like, no, this is not a 40-year-old man. This is a young female. They put 2 and 2 together, dental records, it was her. So they started interviewing her friends. And of course, they interview the 2 idiots that maybe had 1 brain cell apiece. And they're playing it down. Nah, hadn't seen her in a week, you know. Last time I talked to her, the guy that she broke up with, he was like, I haven't talked to her in a month. She broke up with me. Well, his buddy finally cracked. It was like the third time they had interviewed him, and he was like, okay, Matter of fact, he said, I'll take you to where the gun is buried. Because the other yo-yo buried the gun. Didn't do too good of a job because it was real easy to find when he went. It's back there in the woods. This 16-year-old thought he was more intelligent than the police. Denied it right up and down. No, not me. No, He said, well, how come your buddy's saying you did it? Well, he has a grudge against me, and sure, he's going to blame me. Police didn't buy that either. The sad thing is, and I don't understand some of the prosecutors down in Florida, because this prosecutor charged him as a juvenile. He was 16. He should have been charged as an adult. Charged him as a juvenile. Well, by the time it got to court, he was 17. He got sentenced to 4 years. Because when you turn 21, you get released from juvenile detention. 4 years. That's all he got. He got some probation, but needless to say, her mother was pissed. I guess her mother's filing a wrongful death suit. Any other goddamn prosecutor would have charged this kid as an adult and put him away for life. Although, the law is kind of hazy with kids. I don't know if I think basically after 25 years they come up for a review or something. It's stupid. It was interesting. I was looking in, for the hell of it, some of the facts about good old Grady Judd. Grady Judd is 72 years old. He has worked for the sheriff's department since he was 21. He started as a dispatcher. Every time he comes up for re-election, he wins by a landslide. Matter of fact, the last two elections, a carpenter, get this, a carpenter, ran as a write-in candidate. The last two elections, a carpenter. The guy has no law enforcement experience whatsoever. He's a carpenter. Needless to say, Grady wins by a landslide. He's on his 6th term, the first sheriff in Florida ever to be elected to 6 terms. And by the looks of things, Grady is not going to be retiring soon. He comes up for election in 2028. I don't see him retiring. He enjoys that job too much. Not to mention he enjoys them press conferences way too much. There was one, oh God, it's a while back. There was a shootout. Guy decided he was going to shoot it out with the deputies. And they shot the guy like 68 times. And Grady said, I guess a reporter was like, why 68 times? And Grady said, we ran out of bullets. I could almost imagine the look on the reporter's face. Yeah, how come you shot him 68 times? We ran out of bullets. We'd have shot him more. Grady always says we shot him dead. He got what he wanted. Oh, yeah, he is, I'll tell you what. And it was in one of the articles that I read. He is the most transparent sheriff in Florida. And due to his transparency, other sheriffs has followed suit. Because, like, anytime there is a shooting involved, he's immediately on the scene giving out whatever information they have at the time. And besides being Matt Dillon, I mean, if you look at him, that's the way he runs his department, you know. He's like Matt Dillon. And like he always says, if you shoot at one of our deputies, we're going to shoot you dead. His new term, we're going to shoot you so many times that we'll be able to read the New York Post through your body. For some reason, he likes the New York Post, or the New York Times. Yeah. I don't know why he didn't mention like a Florida newspaper. Yeah. We're going to shoot you so many times that you'll be able to read the New York Times through your body. We're going to give you lead poisoning. That's his new line. We're going to give you lead poisoning. And with this idiot that shot Ace, they gave him lead poisoning. And then they found out because he was out in a tent in the woods. And now Grady is hawking the public for another piece of equipment. He wants like a bobcat with a big chainsaw on the front of it so that they can go back in the woods. Although I'm sure if the Army offers him a used tank, he'll probably take it. Yeah, we'll be able to get back in the woods with that. Yeah, he even mentioned that. He goes, oh, there's a bobcat that has a big saw attachment. We could have got back in the woods with it, but we don't have one. I bet you the next announcement will be a company donated a bobcat with a chainsaw. Although I'm sure Grady would like, an old military tank. That'll go back in the woods and knock down trees. And then when they finally got to this idiot, he still had the gun in his hand. It had an extended clip, and he had stole it from his girlfriend's mother. Now, what's his mother doing with a 9mm with an extended clip? That's the next question I would ask. If she was looking for a weapon for protection, you get a normal 9mm. This had an extended clip. It held 24 rounds. What does she need a weapon like that for? I bet there'll be a little investigation into that gun. Because a normal, depending on the make, a normal 9mm will hold 8 to 12. This was an extended clip that held 24. Oh, yeah, Kathy, I tend to think Grady gets what Grady wants. Because appreciate him. Oh, they love him down there. It's obvious he, got elected 6 times in a row. But he don't take no shit. And I think he preaches that to his department. Don't take no shit off of nobody. We're the law. Although today he did blame social media for a lot of shit that's going on. I do too. Like last summer when I was up at the shopping center when all those kids were flipping off the police as they were driving through. Back in my day, that car would have stopped. The officers would have got out and beat the shit out of us, then taken us home to our parents, who would have beat the shit out of us again. Oh, you're going to love this. I've got to get the car, the Passat, inspected by the Highway Patrol. So I called and they said, you have to do it online. Oh boy. So I start to fill out the information online. And I get to this section, owner. All right, I put in Exotics International, the address, all the bullshit. And then it was asking me for some sort of number. I'm looking through all the court paperwork. I don't know what kind of number So it timed out. First of all, it only gives you 20 minutes, and it's confusing as fuck. It timed out. I was like, okay, good thing it timed out because I got to read every fucking document here to come up with some sort of number that it will accept. So I happened to see this up in the corner of a document where it said charter/license number. So I get back on the site. I get to page 4. I put this goofy number in. It accepts it. It moves on to the appointment. Next available appointment, 9/16/26. 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Not being a morning person, I took 11. As I was putting my paperwork away, I noticed something. I purchased the car on 9/16/2025. It will be over a year by the time I get the title, because it's going in for the inspection a year after I bought it. I'm hoping to have a title before the end of 2026. Because once I get the inspection done, I'm hot-footing it downtown to file this court order. But I could not believe the next available inspection date, 9/16/2026. And I'm going to tell the highway patrol officer, we're at a year now, and I still don't have a goddamn title for this car. Needless to say, I renewed the registration for the RAV4. So I will, even though it's illegal, I will have a current registration. I didn't want to spend the money, but when I saw that inspection date, I was like, well, the state doesn't know I'm not driving the RAV4 anymore. They don't care. They just want their money. So they got their money. Which means I really can't junk the goddamn RAV4 until 2027. Because I don't dare junk the car until I have a legal title for the Passat. So it's sitting back outside the window, looking lonely as hell. And Marianne keeps it. When are you going to junk that car? When I have a title for the Passat. That's when I'll junk it. Unfortunately, the junk value keeps going down and down and down. You know, if I'd have been able to junk that thing earlier this year, I'd have got $725 for that car. Every year, the junk value gets less and less and less. I could not believe that. Matter of fact, the date didn't even hit me. I was putting all the paperwork back in the folders, and I put the receipt in, and I was like, wait a minute. I pulled out the sales receipt, 9/16/2025. I was like, holy shit. Of course, you know, I haven't had any contact with his son since he screwed me over. I just wonder if he's filing a court order to get a title for the 2016 Toyota Venza and the 84 Porsche, because they're both sitting in his driveway. And he can't sell either one until he's got a title. Although, I would guarantee, to get them out of his driveway, he will sign the title as vice president like he was told to do with me. And he was like, oh, no, I don't want to get no trouble. I wasn't no corporate member. I guarantee he'll sign them titles. Vice president of Exotics International, to sell them goddamn cars. But me, no. Screw me over. Hang on, somebody's knocking at the door. Was Marianne telling me I left the sunroof open on the Passat. I said, yeah, I know. I'll get it when I make myself dinner. Thanks for noticing. Mainly because I told her, every now and then I forget to close the fucking thing. Because I open it in the morning to let the heat out of the car in case I got to go somewhere. And the one day, luckily it didn't rain, I left the sunroof open all night. I come out in the morning and I was like, holy shit. Although I have discovered that, I'll tell you, that sunroof has a mind of its own. That car has got to be haunted with Jim's ghost. The other day, when was it? Wednesday. I had to check something. What did I have to check? Oh, I was checking to see how much gas I had because I was looking to see what gas prices were. Turned the ignition on, looked at the gas gauge, half a tank. Okay, I have to get gas this week. Turned it off. I'm in the kitchen making a cup of coffee. I look out in the driveway and the sunroof, either it opens or at the back, it'll air vent. I look out and the thing's going, reep, wow, reep, Whoa. Reep. Whoa. I'm not nowhere near the car. The power is shut off. The sunroof is opening and closing. Opening and closing. Opening and closing. So I go out, I fire the car up, I open the sunroof, I close the sunroof. Sunroof closes, I shut the car off. About an hour later, I go out in the kitchen and make a cup of coffee. The sunroof is wide open. I'm like, who opened the sunroof? So I go out, I close the sunroof. I check before I go to bed. Sunroof is closed. That was Wednesday. Thursday morning, the fucking sunroof is wide open. I call Volkswagen. They never heard of this before. I said, you've got to be kidding me. We've never heard of a sunroof opening by itself with the power shut off. Out of all the Volkswagens you have built with sunroofs, mine is the only one that opens and closes without any power on. He said, well, there is power to the switch. I said, you mean to tell me I don't have to turn the car on? He said, no. The switch is always powered. I said, but if it's in the closed position, it should stay closed. Well, yes. I said, mine opens by itself. I said, I was watching one day, the air vent portion was going weep, wow, weep, wow, weep, wow. Never heard of it. Is everything original? I said, well, no. I had to put another motor in, and I had to put another switch in. When you put the motor in, was the motor brand new? I said, no, it was used. Was it in the open or closed position? I said the place I bought it from, it's written right on the motor. Removed in fully open position. When I installed it, I said maybe I'm one tooth off. One. Would that cause this problem? Maybe. You've never had your service department. Can I talk to the service department? Yeah, hold on. I get the service department. I said, I have a question. I just got transferred over from parts. Does the service department or the body shop change sunroof motors? We do them here in service. Good. I have a question. And I explained, used motor, maybe one tooth off at the most. I said, my sunroof opens and closes by itself. I've never heard of that. And I've been at this dealership 25 years. You mean to tell me I have the only Volkswagen in history where the sunroof will open and close by itself? That's the first time I ever heard that. Why don't you bring it in and we'll check it out? Well, first of all, you're out in Brunswick. I'm not driving out to Brunswick. And second of all, I know you're not going to do it for free. So give me a hint how I can stop this problem. Pull the fuse. That's what I was told. Pull the fuse. I said, so every time I get in the car, I got to plug the fucking fuse back in to open and close the sunroof. Well, it's either that or it's going to open and close by itself. We don't know why. Did you get an aftermarket switch? No, I bought it from Volkswagen. Well, that should rule that out. It's got to be in the motor. I said, with it being one tooth off? Well, yeah, there's sensors in the track. I said, yeah, but when I close the sunroof, if it isn't 100% closed, I crank it shut. You crank it shut. I said, yeah, I use the emergency crank. Well, evidently, you have a bad sensor. Okay. How do I diagnose this? Well, you have to drop the headliner. That's it. I'll pull the fuse, thank you. Drop the headliner. So that's what I do. Fuse number 29. When I get out, and then before I do anything, I plug it back in, put the cover on the side of the dash, and open the sunroof. I have the only Volkswagen in the history of Volkswagen with a sunroof that opens itself. Never heard of that problem before. I even went on the Volkswagen website. It's run by a group. Worldwide website. I'm reading and reading and reading everything about sunroofs. Nowhere in the world is there mention in this website about a sunroof that will open and close by itself. I have the only Volkswagen in existence that does this. Matter of fact, the service manager told me, why don't you bring it out here sometime and we'll see if it'll happen in front of us. I said, it don't happen every day. I said, I can go a couple of weeks. But like the other day, weep, wow, weep, wow, weep, wow. It just kept going. Weep, wow, weep, wow. Weep. I had to get out there, turn the car on, open the sunroof, close the sunroof, and shut the car off. And it stayed that way, closed, until the next morning. And it was wide open. So the service manager was nice enough to tell me it's fuse number 29. So I have my forceps because it's those little itty-bitty fuses, you know. Back in the day, you had a fuse you could grab, and now these things are about the size of your fingernail. So I have a pair of forceps, and out comes number 29. Yeah, you're right, only me. I have the only Volkswagen in the history of Volkswagen since the first car they ever built with a sunroof that opens by itself. If it wasn't such a pain in the ass to take the motor out, and then I have to figure out, is it one notch forward or one notch backward, I just leave it alone. I crank it shut, I reach out, I feel the roof to make sure it's smooth front and back, and then take the fuse out. It's a pain in the ass. What I think I'm going to do, I'm going to put a inline switch under the dash. I will take the fuse out. I will solder a wire on each terminal and run it to a switch, and then put it under the dash. And that way, when I get out of the car, I flip the switch, power is killed, and I don't have to keep plucking the fucking fuse out. Oh, you should have heard the service manager. What? I said, yeah, it opens by itself. I've never heard of that. And I've been here 25 years. Well, chalk this one up in your memory banks, pal. My sunroof opens by itself. It don't close, it opens. Never heard of it. Matter of fact, when I told him, he went, really? Are you sure? Oh, no, I'm not sure. All I know is I close it, and the next morning it's open. Evidently, somebody has a key to the car, and they're fucking with me. That's what I wanted to tell him, but I didn't want to piss him off. Really? Never heard of it. I said, how can I stop this? You know where the fuse box is? Yes, I do. It's fuse number 29. Now, it's amazing, right off the top of his head, he knew what fuse controlled the sunroof. In that fuse box are 42 fuses and 8 relays. He just off the top of his head, number 29. I didn't believe him. So I looked in the Chilton's manual. Yep. Fuse number 29. How does he know that right off the top of his head? He didn't even stutter. When he asked me if I knew where the fuse box, yeah, it's fuse number 29, pull it out. But never heard of a sunroof opening by its... And when I told him it was weep-wowing, he was like, what? I said, yeah, it was up and down, up and down, up and down. And it kept doing it till I went out to the car. I don't know how long it had been doing it. Could have been doing it all night. Breal, Breal, Breal. Jim is haunting this car because he didn't want to really sell it. It's the only thing I can figure. The fucking car is haunted by Jim now. What I should have done, and I never think of it. Now, I got video cameras everywhere. I should have taken a video of it going, reap wow, reap wow, reap wow, reap wow, reap wow, and sent it to that service manager and went, watch the video. And I'm not in the car. The car's not on. It's sitting in the driveway. Fuse number 29. Right up the top of his head like somebody had called earlier. What fuse is for my sunroof? 29. Hello, I got a sunroof opens and closes by itself. How do I fix it? Pull fuse number 29. I even stopped to talk to Ryan. And he looked at me like I was talking a foreign language. I said, Ryan, the fucking thing opens and closes on its own. Never heard of it. You too? Neither did the 25-year man at Volkswagen. Yeah, he tells me, I've been in Volkswagen service 25 years. I've never heard of it. Evidently, if people have a sunroof that opens by itself, they just look up what fuse and they pull the fuse and say, screw it, you know. But if it's a faulty sensor, I have to take the headliner out of the car. You know what a pain in the ass that is? And then 9 times out of 10, all the material will start falling off the goddamn roof. Every time a piece starts to, I get the glue out. That headliner glue works like, oh, magic. Because I notice, like, I glued over the passenger door. Then a couple days later, it was starting to fall down by the passenger rear door. So I glued it all up. Sooner or later, my whole headliner will be all glue. At this rate, I will never see that license plate. Although, as soon as I have that title in my hand, I am going right across the road to the license bureau and ordering that plate. Even though I wasted the money renewing the plate for the RAV4, I'm going to have to get another vehicle. Because come 2027, I'm going to have one license plate that's not going to have a vehicle. Because I am not giving the plate up on the shitbox. I did that once. And I can't believe I got it back. Because for about 5 years on the shitbox, I had L1. It looks cool. L1. And I got stupid. Because I went on the BMV website and I was playing with numbers. And I was able to get 0, not 0, O. 003. It looked cool. So I gave up the L1 for 003. It looked like 003. Well, at the end of a year, I was like, I don't want this plate. I go in, and my L1 was taken. I was like, oh, shit. So I renewed 003 for another year. Comes time to renew, I was like, well, let me see if L1's available. It was. I immediately locked that plate in and got rid of 003. So I don't want to give that up. The plate that's on the Passat right now is my 3-digit plate, my 275, which has been in the family for over 80 years. I ain't giving that number up. Unfortunately, I'll probably lose it when they pat me in the face with a shovel, but... So I have a dilemma. I won't have the RAV4, so I'm going to be one vehicle down. Now, do I want to give that plate up? No. Do I want to give the other plate up? No. So Grumpy needs to buy another vehicle. Looking on Faceplant Market Space is nothing but junk. Every now and then I will search for vehicles (2001) and down. 25-year-old vehicles. I don't want nothing newer. Some of the junk that people put on there, and they want a gazillion dollars. There was a Toyota van. It was a 2000. Looked great. Pictures of the interior, spotless. Had one little rust spot at the bottom of one of the sliding doors. Guy wanted, I think, $1,800 for it. So I called and I said, I'm interested in the Honda, Honda Odyssey. You still have it? Yep. Sitting in the driveway. What's wrong with it? Needs a transmission. You want $1,800 for a vehicle that don't go nowhere? Well, it goes in reverse. Yeah, but I can't drive around in reverse. It costs about $3,500 for a transmission. This is the kind of shit that's on. I found a Ford Ranger. It was an '01. And it was the one that I really wanted. It was the one that has the little step side bed. It looks like a little shorty. And it was a manual. Had the V6 on top of it. So I called the guy. I said, I'm calling about the Ford Ranger. You still have it? Yep. Does it run? Oh, wonderful. He goes, it fires up every single time. Okay. Tell me more. Well, it's only got 149,000 miles. Okay, that sounds good. Tell me more. It's got new tires and it's got new brakes. Okay, getting better. Tell me more. I had it tuned up before I parked it. That's even better. Tell me more. It needs a clutch. Thank you. Bye. This is what's on Facebook Marketplace. Now, had he been negotiable, he wanted $1,000 for it. It would have cost me $800 to put a clutch in it, plus the clutch. We're looking over $1,000. I said, will you take any less? Well, maybe $900. Oh, you're generous. How long's it been sitting in your driveway? 2 years. Been sitting in your driveway for 2 years, and you want $900. How about $500? I don't think so. Okay, thanks for your time. Bye. $500, I would have bought it. And then I would have ordered a clutch because I can get them at a discount. And I'd have had Ryan put a clutch in it. I what? No, not $900. No. And it was green on top of it. See, putting a clutch in a Ford Ranger is a real pain in the ass. Now, not so much putting the clutch in. It's the way that Ford designed the slave cylinder. It's almost impossible to bleed. Because I put a clutch in a Ranger once before. And it is the most asinine setup. Never again. You have to literally take the whole slave cylinder out and bench bleed it, and then pray that you don't get an air pocket when you put it back in, or else it won't work. It is the stupidest setup I have ever seen. When I put the clutch in my last Ranger, it took me 3 months to find a mechanic that knew how to bleed the slave cylinder in order to get it fully operational. I had a truck I couldn't drive. Brand new clutch. Oh, I bought the best. It was a competition clutch. It was basically for Rangers that you would use for rock climbing. It was top of the line. Had the clutch put in 3 months before I could drive it. And then the motor went. Junked it with a brand new clutch. So I scratched that one off the list. Then finally, it was a 1999 Mazda Tribute. It looks like a RAV4, made by Mazda. $1,000. Clean car, in and out, very clean. Guy had a picture of the engine compartment, spotless. 5-speed. Oh boy. So I call him. You still got it? Yeah. What's wrong with it? Got a little bit of a transmission problem. Okay. What's the problem? Well, the synchros are gone in second and third. Thanks for your time. Have a nice day. See, in the RAV4, the synchros went out of third gear. Now it's a 5-speed. In order to drive it, you would have to wind it out as far as you could in second and then put it in fourth. It was fine with me driving around the neighborhood. But I also had to remember when I downshifted fourth to second to first. I had no third gear in that car. But I drove it with not much of a problem. Having second and third gone in the Mazda, there ain't no way you're going to get that car going fast enough in first to shift into fourth. And then what happens if the synchros go in fourth? You have 1 and 5. And people put this shit on Faceplant, Market Space, thinking people are going to jump at it and buy it. There was one more that I was really tempted. It was a 2000 PT Cruiser. Manual. I didn't know they made PT Cruisers with 5 speeds. I call the guy. You still got the PU Cruiser? Yep. Give me some info. Tells me engine's fine, transmission's fine, clutch is fine, brakes are decent, got decent tires. All right, what's wrong with it? I lost the key. Okay. Why don't you get a new key? Not that easy. You have to buy the whole ignition assembly. $246. Ignition assembly, key. I'm thinking, all right, take the steering column apart, take the old ignition assembly out, put a new one in. No. Because the ignition switch goes through the computer. The computer will not recognize a new ignition switch. The only way you can get that done is you have to take it to Chrysler and they have to reflash the computer. Okay. I call Chrysler. I said, PU Cruiser, bad ignition switch. $1,000. All right, $245 for the ignition assembly, and $1,000 to reprogram the computer to recognize the ignition switch. And you can't cheat. Put the new ignition switch in, won't start. It'll crank, won't start. I really wanted that PU Cruiser because of it having a 5-speed. I never heard of a PU Cruiser with a manual. According to Chrysler, they built very few because people don't drive manuals. Because I even asked the guy, do you have a picture of the interior? Yeah, I'll email it to you. Sure enough, there's a 5-speed on the floor. $1,300 plus $1,000 for the PU Cruiser. From what I heard, the guy ended up junking it. Had I known that, I'd have told him, if you're going to junk it, I'll give you junk price. And then one way or another, I'd have had that thing running. I never heard of a PT Cruiser with a manual. He sent me a picture. I wanted that thing so bad because it was an oddball. That's like, I could have killed my kid. A friend of mine had a Neon. It was his son's. His son didn't want it anymore. He gave it to me. It was a Plymouth Neon. Now remember, they had Dodge and Plymouth. They were the same damn car. One was a Plymouth, one was a Dodge. This was a Plymouth. So, we turned this into a GT. Luckily, at Pull Apart, they had a GT. We took the front bumper cover off, the back bumper cover off, the side fairings, and the wing off the trunk. And we turned this car into a Plymouth Neon GT. It looked sharp. My son's driving it back and forth to work, getting all kind of comments because we two-toned it. It was a light blue. We took the bumper cover, the side fairings, the back cover, and the wing, and we painted it dark blue. Two-toned it. Looked cool. He's driving along, fucking with his phone. A woman in a Jeep stopped suddenly. He went under the back end of the Jeep because the neon was like a wedge. The Jeep ended up in the middle of the hood. Needless to say, total loss. I was so goddamn pissed. Not so much that he was fucking around with his phone. I was pissed that he wrecked a Plymouth Neon. Because Plymouth no longer existed. It's like people today driving Pontiacs. There is one vehicle I would love to get my hands on. A Pontiac G8. Now they have a G6, which there's a shitload of G6s. G8s are rare. Because what people don't know is the Pontiac G8 is a Holden. People don't know that. A Pontiac G8 is a Holden out of Australia that they shipped and they converted them to left-hand drive. Because in Australia, they liked the V8. They didn't build the 8 in America. So GM exported G8s, Holdens. And on some of them, if you lift the sill plate, if you take the piece off in the middle that's black with silver Pontiac, if you gently peel that up, it says Holden on the sill plate. People don't know that. I have been looking for a G8 for a long time. I've yet to find one. I am hoping to find one. Because it's a Holden. And they don't make them anymore because GM shut the Holden plant in Australia. It's gone. They don't build them anymore. So if I could find a G8, I would keep that thing forever because it's a Holden, not a Pontiac. Had Pontiac been allowed to exist, you know, over in Australia, they have what they call utes. They're basically rancheros or El Caminos. They're utes. They call them utes. Utes. Had Pontiac still been in existence, GM was going to export Holden utes and sell them through Pontiac. They would take the Holden badging off, and they'd be left-hand drive because they do build for export. They were going to export or import Holden utes as another item for Pontiac to sell, which would have been basically an El Camino. And then the bankruptcy hit, and they had to get rid of, Pontiac, Oldsmobile. Believe it or not, there are actually 100 of them in the United States. Because they were built, and then when they shut the Holden plant, a private concern bought all 100 and shipped them here. And the interesting thing is, they all say Holden. He bought all 100, he shipped them here, and sold them all. There are, in the United States, 100 Holden utes running around, because I've seen pictures. Because the guy took a picture of all 100 at his dealership. And they all have the Holden lion on the front of them. And when you open the door, the steering wheel says Holden, and the door sills say Holden. And they were going to be Pontiacs. But Holden got killed off. That same thing people don't know. Right now, in Australia, you can buy a Ford Ranger with a 5-speed and a diesel. It's the only place that they exist, is Australia. Because in Australia, they drive more diesels than they drive gas. And right now, you can buy a 2026 Ford Ranger with a 5-speed manual and a diesel. Don't exist in the United States. Automatics and gas engines only. But Australia, see, pardon me. Australia, their kids aren't like ours here. They look forward to driving manuals. Because Australia is like 80% manual and 20% automatic. Everybody drives a manual. Almost. So you can get all kinds of manual cars in Australia. Not here. Kia makes them. Subaru makes them. Hyundai makes them. Honda, Toyota. Not here. You can get a Toyota Tacoma in Australia with a diesel and a manual. Not here. As a matter of fact, manual is rare. You can get a manual in the United States in a Toyota Tacoma. You have to special order it from the factory. And a dealer wants a huge deposit because they don't want to get stuck with it. Because I know the owner of Metro Toyota. Every now and then I stop bullshit with him. And I asked him, can I get a Toyota Tacoma with a manual? Yes. I don't stock any. You have to order it. Okay. They want about 20 to 25% down. Non-refundable. Because they don't want to get stuck with that manual transmission truck. He told me, I'll order you one. Spec it out. What do you want? Give me 20 to 25% down, non-refundable. Because when it comes in, it's going to be yours. Otherwise, I keep your money. I haven't been following the chat. Sorry, people. You know, Kathy, there's liable to be some G8s floating around because they're bigger down south. They sold more. I mean, I looked at the sales stats, and about 60% of them got sold south and Midwest. Not so much north and east. And Pontiac G8. G6s are all over the place. Guy up the street's got a G6. That's a 6-cylinder engine. I don't want a G6. I want a G8 because it's a Holden. Even the VIN number designates it as a Holden. People don't know that. Nobody looks at their VIN number. Nobody deciphers them like I do. I decipher the whole VIN. As a matter of fact, the guy that imported those Holden Utes, I think he was in Georgia. Georgia or Louisiana. But he bought all 100. Because being a GM dealer, he was able to research shit like that. And he had some connections with the office in Detroit. And they said to him, we got 100 left-hand drive Holden Utes in Australia. that were destined to come here. You want them? And he bought all 100. If you want to see some interesting, there's 2 YouTube channels that are interesting from Australia. One is called Bruce in AUS. Bruce in AUS. Another one is called Backshed. One word, Backshed. Oh my God, some of the vehicles down there are unbelievable. And the guy in Backshed goes out and looks for old utes to restore. Too bad he's in Australia. I'd like to buy one after he gets done with it. And the interesting thing is, evidently they don't have titles down there. He finds an old ute out in the weeds. He tows it home. He restores it and sells it. Unbelievable. Well, look who's here. Fatso. Oh, you're late. He just sits and looks at me. Feed me. All right, I'll feed you. All right, people. I have to feed Fatso. You have it written down. Good, thank you. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. We know where, right here. We will meet again tomorrow night. And with that, take care, be safe, and we will see you again tomorrow night. And I just realized all this time I forgot to turn the light on and I got my headphones caught in it. I'm all discombobulated tonight. All right, peoples. I'll see you tomorrow. And I'll be a little more organized.